Welcome to the Romance Podcast. Man, I can't believe we got picked up for another episode of the Romance Podcast.
What does that mean? This is free.
It's like self-deprecating humor, right?
Right.
Yeah.
No, we made it.
Yeah, we made it. All right, cool. So here's the deal, guys. Something that has been constant in our relationship. Kenzie wants one thing, and I don't want that. Okay? We're talking
Two husbands.
No, are you serious?
I'm
What if I
kidding.
said two wives? You'd be so mad.
Well, yeah, because that would be disgusting.
Oh, okay, but you do it. It's okay. No, it's therapy, couples therapy.
Yes.
I am anti-therapy. You, for some reason, are very, very pro-therapy.
Woo!
And recently, we were watching a very, very, very
not PC.
not
show.
PC show. It's old, but it's called Eastbound and Down, and it's hysterical. Like, if you are the kind of person that gets offended easily, do not watch this show.
Well, they're like, it's kind of like The Office in the sense, not similar humor.
Yeah.
But where they're making fun of like somebody who isn't PC.
Right.
If that makes sense. So it's
Yeah.
like, clearly he's wrong.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the joke.
Yeah, Kenny
Okay?
Powers is the lead character.
Yes.
He's hysterical, but he's wrong on so many levels.
And they're making fun of that.
Right,
Yes.
right. So we're watching this show because here's the deal. We do have a newborn and we're up late at night and whatever. So we have to have shows on to kind of keep us entertained.
Yeah.
So it's a hysterical show. But in the show, an ongoing theme I've seen on many, many shows is the husband does not want to do therapy at all.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the wife is like, no, we need to do it. We got to do it. We got to do it. And that's kind of how we are in real life. You want to do therapy.
I do.
I do not. Why don't you give the reasons why you want to give therapy to our audience?
Okay, so therapy, I think, is a really smart thing to do because it's like maintenance. That's how I imagine therapy. So it doesn't mean that right now you and I are fighting a lot or we're super unhappy or any of those things. But when you reach we're married, so we intend to be together a pretty long time.
Yeah.
That's our goal.
Pretty long, yeah.
And during that time, I would imagine there's going to be moments where we're frustrated with each other or don't agree or have people have lulls, like highs and lows, all of
People
that.
who have followed us for the past 5 years are shocked to know there might be lulls and ups and downs in our relationship.
I'm gonna punch you in the face. Are you a punch? So, anyways, I think that therapy is really important because it's like, why are you gonna wait till your car literally breaks down before you bring it to the shop? Like, if it has all the lights on, you take it in and you do maintenance work on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I feel the same way about relationships. I feel the same way about who we are as people. I think therapy is important because it gives you tools when you go to therapy. So they teach you healthy ways to disagree or argue with each other, right? They teach you. I think in therapy, you learn a lot about the other person because you have conversations you don't normally have.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I could see myself or you even getting less frustrated about something because it's like, you know what? I know he processes information this way. I learned that. So I'm not offended that he wants to do this or doesn't want to do this. I think you learn a lot about each other. And I think you're prepared for harder moments in your relationship. So before you call me like something horrible, you learn the proper way to communicate and then we don't have a fight about that. And I think it's really important. I would like to stay married. I would like to give our marriage the correct tools to do well. And so I look at it as like an investment in that.
Okay, so that was your campaign for therapy.
Yeah.
It sounds really good. Does it? Yeah.
So you'll do it.
No, I am not a therapy kind of guy. I feel like, here's the deal, and we do joke around a lot in our relationship and on our podcast and our videos. We don't fight anywhere near as much as you guys think that we do. We bicker a bit here and there, and then we amplify it to the world, and I feel like you guys relate to that. So we do that, stupid things like the microwave. She heats something up and refuses to clear the timer. If there's 13 seconds left, she'll leave that like the entire day, and it bothers the hell out of me. And so we'll kind of blow that up a little bit. We didn't get in a huge fight over it. I didn't sleep on the couch because of it, but we bicker in those little ways. I think we've only had one, maybe two big fights in our relationship. True?
I mean, it depends how big. I don't know what the scale.
Big,
we've had fights.
Monumental, I'd say maybe one, maybe two. I mean, 5 years.
We've had two big ones.
Okay, two big ones. All right,
two
cool.
really big ones.
The ratio of 5 years and having two big fights is pretty good, okay? Therapy for me, I envision this therapist sitting across from us, and all we do is over and over and over again talk about our little fights, our medium fight, and just we talk about it over and over and over again. And then it's like it gets you riled up again, it gets me riled up again. We kind of do it ourselves by when we have a little fight. Kenzie is the kind of woman that wants to talk about it over and over and over again, and it gets annoying and annoying. I want to go to
okay.
No, hold on. I want to go to bed, sleep it off. The next morning, we're great.
No,
we're good.
What you want to do is have a fight, go to bed, and then pretend it didn't happen and never work it out. There's a difference.
And the future is bright, right? It's all positivity.
No, it's not.
Moving forward.
It's like I'm angry at you. You didn't either, and this is, I don't know what it would be about, but it's like you didn't apologize or acknowledge this or say it's not going to happen again. Like I don't revisit it over and over again. I would like to visit it once and actually solve the problem.
But you want to talk for hours about that, and it's like then it's kind of like I
wouldn't have to talk for hours if you just admit how wrong you are. It would be it would be quick.
So I feel like therapy, listen, I'm not here to down therapy. I think therapy is very, very helpful for many, many people and many couples and all that stuff. Our pastors, they talk about therapy as if it's like the best thing in the world. Like, and we love them. We idolize our pastors. They're really, really cool over at Soul City Church. It's not for me. And here's a couple reasons why. Like, I mean, I guess everybody's different. I know that. Everyone's different. Okay. Like my father passed away back in 2017. It really, really hit me hard. And I still struggle with it every single day. I've talked about it a couple times, actually. I've never gone to therapy for that. Never gone to like any kind of grief counseling or anything. I just kind of deal with it. I work through it. I don't feel like you think that I'm like angry because of it or anything. I just kind of like deal with it. I can handle it. And I move on with my day. I move on with my life. And I think about it. And I have my situations. I might have my bike rides where I might cry at certain times where I'm like thinking about it, but I don't.
Is that what you're doing on that bike?
No, I mean not every time. But my point is that I kind of feel like I can handle stuff the right way without the help of a third party. You feel like we should go to therapy and really kind of.
Well, I think it's beneficial. Okay, if we're arguing, it's because we have two different points of view, right? Like that's what's going on. Right. And I think a third party that's unbiased is very helpful in those scenarios, okay? Because I do believe, I'm a big believer in intention. Okay. So I'm not always mad at what somebody does. I'm sometimes mad, like I can let something go if I know that there was good intention and how it was handled bothered me, but I know that there was nothing malicious or that they didn't care about me, or that I think I'm good at kind of compartmentalizing that, even though it's not what I wanted. I know that nobody's trying to do anything bad. Okay. So I can do that. But and you in particular, you are a stubborn person. I think you can you admit that?
Of course, yeah.
Can you admit it?
I'm a Taurus.
Okay.
I'm a Taurus.
Yeah.
It's not my fault. I'm a Taurus.
Oh, yeah. It's not your fault.
As are you.
Yeah, but I'm not as stubborn as you are. You are the more stubborn one in the relationship.
Yeah, I agree.
You're more headstrong. I'm more like...
I'm probably the looks and the stubborn of the relationship. Probably, yeah. You're right.
Interesting. So and see, I don't even want to fight about it. I'm like,
because I joke around a lot.
It's
I
so
do.
Funny. You're a funny guy.
Yeah, I'm a funny guy.
Okay, so
I'm the humor, the looks, and the stubbornness of. Okay. Anyways, I'm joking.
We need therapy. So I think that it's important because you are stubborn. I think that if you're like, well, you're just being sensitive, or you're looking at it from this point of view. If somebody could come in and be like, well, actually, like, the reason she may see it is because this, or vice versa. Maybe it helps me see your side. It's not just like, because I would win. Right. But, like, there may be things where I'm like, I didn't view it as that because I am sensitive to this subject. So it helps, like, it's like a referee to an issue in a relationship, which I think is really important to have because, so you go to your mom for advice, which you know I love to do, okay? Yeah, I love to talk to my parents.
That's what you do every day. But you have two therapists as it is, your mother and your father.
But you're going to think that that's biased, which even though there's been many times, not all of them, but there's been plenty of times that they have taken your side.
The funny thing is, I've talked to your parents individually about this, and it seems like when you call your mother about something, and if she takes my side, because me and your mom are very similar in our lives when it comes to like how
you and my mom are like, and me and my dad are like, 1,000%.
So when you call your mom, and if she's not giving you the answer that you want or siding with you like you want, I've been told that then you'll call your father to try to get that answer of like, no, Dad, I'm right?
Not true. Because there's times that I'm so like annoyed with you, and I know if I call my mom, maybe I'll actually be less annoyed with you because she's probably gonna think the way you think.
Right.
So I utilize that sometimes. Like, okay, would you do this? Because that's gonna make me feel better.
Okay.
Like, gotcha. So I do that.
Yeah.
But I know that you're gonna always think that my parents are biased. You're not gonna be like, well, your parents said, obviously.
Yeah.
So I think it's a valuable thing for us to have, because you do bottle. You're like, I can deal with everything.
And I do.
You think it makes you. Wait. Let me finish this thought, though. Let me finish this thought.
Sure.
You think it makes you. I don't know if you think it makes you more of a man or something, but you're like, oh, I'm a man. Da, 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 I deal with everything. Mm-hmm. And I do think every once in a while you pop off about something small, and I do think it's a buildup. Mm-hmm. I think there's a buildup because you've had a frustrating this, and you dealt with all that,
right.
And now spilled milk. You're like, pew. Sometimes, and therapy does help you not have that buildup. Mm-hmm. Right? So I do think that happens to you sometimes. I think you do a nice job dealing with things, but it doesn't make you more of a man because I didn't talk to anybody. Now I'm better. Right. And like that's a bad stigma.
And again, someone I look up to very, very much is Jarrett Stevens, our pastor at Soul City Church, and him and his wife Jeannie, who also is the pastor. Yeah. They brag about therapy. They love it. Mm-hmm. Not brag. They rave about it. You know. And but I think it's for certain people, and I'm glad it works for them. I understand you do want to do. Here's the thing. If we had a gigantic fight, right, and we talk about whatever, like she never cheated on me. I never cheated on her. There's been no affairs. There's been no like abuse. Like there's nothing gigantic that has happened in our relationship where I feel like, yes, you're right. We need to go to therapy. If I found out you were having an affair or like you hit me or vice versa, whatever it is, I'd be like, okay, there are some major things that we need to work out. I don't feel like in our relationship that there are major things that we need to work out. I think that we've done a really good job in the past 5 years of talking about things. I think it really helps also with our platform here. We do air out some of our little bickers, and then we're
able to laugh about them. It's healthy. Yeah.
Able to laugh about them. And then I do think you see people, there are that microwave example I gave a little while ago. We put that video out. There were a lot of people on my side like, oh, it drives me crazy. And there were some people on your side like, oh, who cares? Get over it. Like, I think you see the fact that our little bickers, everybody has them. Yeah. Right?
AKA, like, if you left me over the microwave, there's a really good chance
I'd be
you'd meet somebody else who's going to have the microwave problem.
Also, that's just ridiculous. I mean, there are many reasons to leave somebody, I guess, but like a microwave...
there many reasons to leave?
Well, yeah, if like you cheated on me or like you were abusive. Oh, I thought you were like,
as of now.
No.
I'm like, what?
You're pretty good right now.
I think I'm like a really good partner.
Here's something you don't know, actually, and you don't know this, is that...
oh, God.
Is that years ago... when my nephew passed away, okay? I mean, you know that, obviously. Mm-hmm. At 14 months back in 2011, my poor little nephew, Francesco, passed away. And it was a really, really, really tough time because I will say my family lived a very, very charmed life for like our entire childhood, young adult. I mean, there was nothing bad that ever happened in my family. I had a very, very, almost like picture perfect life.
White picket fence vibes. Right. Yes.
You've made fun of me for that because I really have had that my entire life.
We had different lives. We had very different lives for a long time.
So, God, maybe I'm 30, I'm early 30s, and like my nephew passes away, and it's the first bad thing that has ever happened in my family. Like, I mean, it was just like tragic. It was horrible. And I didn't go to therapy for it. But my church, I bragged about my church, Soul City Church. I was part of a small group back then. And it was like about 8 to 10 guys. My pastor, Jarrett Stevens, led the small group. Mm-hmm. And we met every single Wednesday morning at 6:30 a.m. Okay.
That's awesome.
Yeah, right. And I loved it. It was really, really cool. It wasn't therapy, but it was a chance for us to kind of talk about certain things that were
almost like a group therapy.
But it was also, we read books, so like then we talked about the books, and obviously it was all centered around God. And I will say I've never done therapy, but like that, those small groups at Soul City Church back in the day really helped me through a very, very tragic time in my life. I did enjoy that.
See, you enjoyed a version of therapy.
We called it small groups. Yeah. You know, I did enjoy that. So I don't think you know that, but I did have, I don't say fun, but I had fulfillment of this small group, 8 to 10 really, really good guys. And we kind of shared things with each other. And it definitely helped me through a very, very, my first dark period of my life.
Yeah. And and that's really what it's there for, because you shouldn't have to go through some of the hardest things or work through all these things by yourself. And honestly, there's people out there with tools to help you work through them. And we don't all have those tools for each problem. Like minor things, yes, like work through them, whatever. But we didn't study and learn a lot and decipher. Like somebody that's like being like, well, I need surgery. I'm just going to do it myself. I can handle it myself. Like, no, these people studied this and learned about the mind and how to heal and do all these things. So there's nothing wrong with using that tool. So if it was like a deal breaker for me and I got really serious about it,
oh, come on,
would you do it?
I think that...
I mean, you can't say no to me forever about this.
I think you've been a great, great wife and a great partner. I think, without bragging, I've been a really good husband and a good partner. I don't think there's been anything major in our relationship that has happened that requires therapy. I know you say it's like preventative and it's like maintenance.
I want to make sure it doesn't happen.
I will tell you, if anything horrible ever happens, whatever, fill in the blank, okay? On your side or my side, I say at that point, you have my word, I will enter into therapy to figure out why it happened or how to prevent. But there's been nothing major in our life that has happened on a negative side that makes me think that we need to spend time
to feel the need
to go to therapy. I feel like you and I, really because of you, are great communicators. I feel like you, if there's something on your mind, listen, your face says it. Like, your face says, like, I'm not happy about that, okay? So I feel like you and I might talk more than most couples do. And because of our platform, we put it out to the world. So we really are kind of getting a bit of public therapy in a way about our bickers and about our little fights. So I do feel like we air out certain things. I don't want to go to therapy. There's a reason why on these shows, like even Entourage, another one, Ari Gold never wanted to go to therapy, but his wife was like insisting on it. Like, there's a reason women want to go to therapy and guys are resistant to that. Most times it's very stereotypical, but I fall in that category. I'm a guy that does not want to do it, and you're a girl who wants to do it.
I do want to. I think it is important. I really don't want to wait for something catastrophic, but I guess I will.
But what if that catastrophic never happens and then we just never needed therapy?
See, but what you don't realize is that little things can lead to like big. So I think that men, a lot of times, I'm gonna do a stereotype. Doesn't mean all men
I just
do
did,
this.
yeah.
So stereotypically, because women are typically a better communicator. Now, you may have the opposite in your relationship, which is totally fine, right? But I feel like there are a lot of men who don't realize there's a problem until it's really, really, really big.
Right.
And then women are often like, I've been kind of telling you this for how long? It's kind of like the Kelsey Ballerini song. Were you blindsided or were you just blind?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That is such a woman's perspective for this guy, for her ex to come out and be like, I've been blindsided. And she's like, really? Like, all the conversations and we're drifting and we're doing this.
Say that lyric again. Were you blindsided or were you just blind? Kelsey Ballerini, like, she went there on that album. Yeah.
But that's how a lot of women feel. And I could see that happening because I think that you always go, not a big deal, not a big deal, not a big deal. Yeah. And I could see that over time, me going, those were big deal. Just because I'm less stubborn than you doesn't mean that when you win, it wasn't a big deal. So when we default to what you want because I'm less stubborn, it doesn't mean that doesn't add up and get super annoying over time. And that can develop into like, well, you never really cared about how I felt because we always did this. I just didn't bitch because I don't want to bitch. Right. But
And now because you said that, I have to put explicit content on the podcast description. Like, if you don't swear, it could be a clean podcast, probably goes to more people. But because you just said those two words back to back, now I got to put...
How about you put a little bleep over it? You edit this thing.
No, it's too much work. I mean, this is who we are, right? So if you just curse because you felt like cursing, it's all good. It's explicit. Now, this episode is now explicit.
I feel like you're complaining.
You're
complaining.
We need to go to therapy for this because we're really good. No, I mean, honestly, just before we change subjects, I just feel like, you know, the expression beating a dead horse? I feel like therapy for us, at least at our stage of our relationship, would be like beating a dead horse, because all we're going to do is talk about little things that bother you, little things that bother me. We're going to bring them up again, and it's going to bother me again, it's going to bother you again. I just feel like it's like beating a dead horse. But you have my word, if there's anything that ever majorly happens in our relationship on a negative tip, that I will go to therapy to like fix why I did that or why you did that. Or
you wouldn't let our relationship just disintegrate.
I wouldn't. No,
you wouldn't.
I for me, and I'm probably gonna need a lot of therapists and people that love therapy. They're gonna bash me for this. For me, therapy is like a last ditch effort to like.
You feel like it's your last resort.
For lack of a better analogy, it's the Hail Mary at the end of the football game to fix the relationship. Like, yeah, I'll go to therapy. Sure, let's fix this. That for me is what therapy is. I know it's a horrible analogy.
It's not good.
I'll probably get bashed.
It's not a good viewpoint on therapy.
I do want to say I understand the need for it, and I honestly I've brought them up multiple times in this podcast. But our pastors swear by therapy. They love it for them, and it's great.
Well, can I ask you something?
Sure.
Because you really do. Jared Stevens, I would say, is somebody that you like. Idol is not a right word. What's like the mentor?
Mentor, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Mentor,
Okay. Right. So because of that, and because you trust a lot of what he says, and you think he's a great man, you think he's a great husband, you think he's a great father, and he has said this is something that'd be good for your marriage. Why is it that you can't take that and go, okay, somebody who I think is right about a lot of things and is really a spiritual guider, that's what he does, and I value who he is as a person, and you go to him for advice on things.
I have.
Why is that not advice that you take?
I feel like he's never pulled me aside and said, hey, for your relationship, I feel therapy is best. I think, he, as a general, he has said that to people.
So the sermon needs to be about you.
No, I just feel like,
the Bible doesn't say, Justin, don't covet thy neighbor's wife. It just says, don't do it.
I feel like it's obviously been very, very, very good for them, and it's worked out great for them. I do love the guy, and I think he is more like a mentor. I look up to him and stuff like that, but he's also like a big time swimmer, and I hate swimming. Like there's just, there's certain things.
That's not the same.
I'm saying like there's certain, like there, I think he's great, but I don't think every single thing that he does, I have to do, right? I would argue, he's been around us before. Like I think he would agree that we have a very, very, very good relationship. Not to say he wouldn't recommend therapy. Yes, he probably would. And if Jared, if you're watching, I'm sure you would. But still,
apparently you have to tell him. So Jared, if you could message.
Well, we're gonna have them on the podcast down the road because they're amazing pastors. They are married. They lead a church together.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the spiritual Kenzie and Roman because we obviously work together and we have our brand together. Obviously, theirs is more important because it's spiritual and all those things. But we want to have them on the podcast just talking about working together and how that the pros and
how
cons,
important therapy is.
And maybe at that point they will convince me to do therapy. All right.
They're our next guest, baby.
No, they're like a couple years away. Moving on, there's this girl who went viral on TikTok because she met a guy in kind of a roundabout, sneaky, manipulative way. Listen up. All right. So, Kenzie K, you are, I always make fun of you in a way, very flattering though, about you could find out anything about anybody. Like literally, if there's something that happens, I'm like, yo, what's up with that girl? And you're on Instagram, Facebook. Okay, well, here, like you can.
Here is her life story.
Yeah, you're like Inspector Gadget.
What were we watching where we wanted to know, how to get rich? Remember that show? And we were like, what does this girl do? Because there was one girl who is clearly like a millionaire, and I had her whole life story and all of her ex-husbands, everything, in 15 minutes. I'm like, give me a second.
You did.
It was amazing.
So you could find anything out about anybody, and here's a girl who met a guy at a grocery store. No, she didn't meet him. She saw his name on a credit card or ID, and then started digging in Facebook, befriended his mother, joined a book. She went the extra mile to get this date that now she's gotten. How do you feel about that?
For me, and this is a me thing. So I honestly don't falter if she felt something and figured it out, because it's not like, as long as she doesn't like kill him afterward. Right. It's like whatever. She tried to get a date with a guy. So however you figure that out, you figure that out. Mm-hmm. I personally, I don't like pursuing men at all. I never have. I do horrible on The Bachelor. Yeah. I'd get kicked off first episode because I'd be like at the bar all night. I'm like, I'm not gonna ever, I've never walked up to a guy, tried to show interest, tried to get him to ask me out. And it's not because I think I'm better. It's not because any of that. I genuinely, and I've told you this before, when I meet somebody, I do not have an interest. It takes me a super long time. And I've kind of only dated friends ever. I've never just been asked out like at a coffee shop. And
she can confirm that if you go back to episode 1, we talk about our story and how we met, how we fell in love, and you'll find out that literally that is true. That's kind of how I got in there, was like a friend first, shoulder to cry on kind of situation. So again, episode 1, we talk about our love story and how we met and how we fell in love, and that is true about you.
Yeah, to me, you're just a stranger, so I just don't have that that oomph. Mm-hmm. I just saw you. I don't care. It just doesn't do anything for me. I don't want to kiss you. I don't want to hold your hand. I don't know you. Yeah. And so it always just takes me a while to warm up and really feel like I know somebody. Because you have to show interest in entering a relationship. I need to know you more than bumping into you at a coffee shop, right? So that just takes me longer. I think I'm a little weird that way because I don't have interest in that, and sometimes it kind of creeps me out. I just don't want to date somebody like a one-off date that's
Right.
asked me out.
Yeah.
And I tried when I was single because I got cheated on a lot.
I don't want to hear that.
No, but I
you
was
tried
like-
to have like one night stands.
No, dates, not one night
I
stands.
still don't want to hear
Alright.
that. Yeah, I mean, you could
But I
have.
was like, I should date. I should get out there. I should stop getting cheated on. And, like, it didn't work. I sucked at it. So that's my point. It didn't work. But
you should go to therapy.
we should go to therapy.
No, you. I said you should go to therapy.
Just
for that.
me.
I think you got some things. Anyways, go ahead.
Ouch. So it just takes longer. So I would never, because I'd be like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, it just wouldn't spark me. But I don't think it's wrong, because I do feel like if you got a feeling, like, I feel like you were really particular about getting me to date you.
Yeah, okay, but to go back to this girl and her video, I feel like I'm not opposed. I don't mind if women make the first move or hit on somebody or try to get a phone number if you're feeling it. Like, it doesn't bother me at all. I feel like in this case, isn't it a bit manipulative that she didn't like find him on Facebook and DM'd him. Mm-hmm. She found him on Facebook and didn't add him. Found his mom on Facebook. I don't think she even added her. She then found a book club that the mom was part of, joined the book club, and then kind of like pretended with her and the mom. Oh yeah, like it was very manipulative how she got in there to get the introduction.
Okay, here's the thing. I think it's smart if she's actually interested. This is gonna sound weird, but they often say it's better if a guy is more interested at first. Okay, like your relationship levels out because you're both in love with each other. If you date a long time, right? Like you're married, you're a couple. But men naturally, a lot of them, let's stereotype it again, but they say like they're naturally inclined to be like hunters and kind of like, they like a challenge, all that kind of stuff, right? Mm-hmm. That's why there's always that thing of like, she likes him, but he likes her, but like that's how life goes.
Right.
So it's kind of smart that she wasn't like, I really like whatever right away. Mm-hmm. She left it to a point where he got to ask her out.
But
and he gets to be the interested one.
Because she manipulated the system.
She
manipulated it.
She's playing chess and he's playing, you know what I'm saying? Like she was just set, because he could have saw a picture of her after the mom gave a number and decided not to ask her out.
Yeah.
He could have texted back and forth with her and been like, oh, she's boring.
Yeah.
It still left it open-ended. It didn't trap him into a date.
She got the mom stamp of approval. And
what's wrong with that? She was also herself. She goes, we talked about books that we actually both liked. Her mom could have been like, I think this girl sounds like a ditz. Mm-hmm. I mean, she met the mom and had a conversation with her, and the mom did like her. And then the guy did decide to ask her out. So technically, she put herself in a good position, but everyone still made their own choices.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I hear you. I feel like in this situation, this is where genders are real. Because if a guy did this...
I'd be flattered.
No, you would. Shut
yes,
up. You would not.
I love a lot of effort.
I think if a guy did this, he would be called psycho. He would be a stalker. Think about it. Okay, here. I'm gonna tell a story from the guy's point of view, okay?
Okay.
A guy saw you at the grocery store.
Okay.
Didn't say nothing. Saw your name from a credit card or a ID. Went on Facebook, found, Kenzie Roman, and then didn't add you, didn't talk to you. He added your mother and found your mom likes to go on walks, right? Found some walk group that your mom was part of and started, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's a psycho thing if a guy's doing it. From a girl standpoint, you're like, yeah, she put herself in a position.
No,
From a guy standpoint, it's kind of psycho.
Listen, in both perspectives, it's a lot of effort for somebody you didn't even have a conversation with. Mm-hmm. So it's not even like, God, that went really well. I wanna find a way. Like, I don't want to leave that in the air. It's a lot of effort for just seeing somebody for no matter what party, right? But I mean, I do like it's gonna sound bad because it could go one of two ways. He could be the best guy in the world, or he could like turn you into a lamp. Yeah, I don't know, but you know what? There's so many people out here nowadays that put in no effort.
Yeah,
I do find it like flattering. Like, God, people don't put in any effort at all. It's like they slide in your DM, hey, in the middle of the night. And by the way, when you don't respond to that, they're like, okay, you're stuck up. Like, it's like, okay. I mean, people do such minimal stuff. It would be really flattering for someone to go out of the way to try to meet you, to show interest, to show, because they want to go on a date with you, again, as long as they're pure intentions and they're actually not going to stalk you or do anything. You're talking about somebody who genuinely ends up being normal while you're dating them. Is that bad as long as that happens?
No, I mean,
honestly,
a lot of people in the comments were like, why didn't you just talk to him at the grocery store?
I do think that would have been easier.
Here's the deal.
I think that would have been easier.
Ladies, let me tell you something right now, okay? there is a better chance for a guy to be receptive to a cold open, okay, at the grocery store, single, if I'm, single Roman, grocery store, I'm unattached, and some like pretty girl's like, oh, hey, how you doing? I'm more receptive to give out my phone number and
what
be cool.
would you do now if a girl talked to you?
I'd be like, bitch, back up.
You'd hit her.
I said that word because we're already explicit. But I don't talk to girls that way. But for real, like, a single Roman, if a pretty girl approaches me, I promise you have a better chance, a girl to a guy, than the guy hitting on the girl randomly at a bar, restaurant, grocery store. I promise the females have a much better chance of a successful interaction than the other way around.
I could see that. That's probably true, right? Because it's the relief of not having to be the one to ask them out. And I think that would have been the easier route.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that she came up with the best plan. I'm just saying I don't find it as manipulative because she didn't trick anyone into dating her. Like, she could have met the mom. Mom wasn't impressed. Didn't bring up her son. Didn't give it up. There was a million. He still had to ask her out. So it's not... Again, I think she put herself in a position. She tried to bump into someone in a hallway or whatever.
One more thing I have about this before we move on is that as the guy, if I'm that guy, and then I see this TikTok video, and I see
that's the weirdest
all
part.
the chess moves that she made and how she manipulated things, I do wonder as the guy if you're flattered or you're like, man, that was really sneaky of you to do that.
You would think it was sneaky? Would it bother you?
I kind of do, yeah. I mean, again, I feel like it was very manipulative. I understand it's hard to meet people. I understand what you're saying about the effort. I do think in this situation, it was a bit manipulative, only because when I flip it, if the guy did it, I think he would be called a psycho, stalker, all those negative things. I do think it was very manipulative, yeah.
You know what's interesting?
What?
You know what I've learned about you in our relationship?
What have you learned about me?
Is that it's not bad, but I do think that you take a lot of things as sneaky or manipulative. I've learned that, like, your outlook.
You don't think that was sneaky and manipulative?
No, but like honestly, I was like, I don't know, maybe I'd be flattered. Like, it's hard. Like I bright side it, which is probably why I've ended up in a lot of bad situations. I'm like, maybe that's not what's going on, and it always
maybe
is.
He'll change.
Yeah, bad ideas. But I've noticed that like you kind of gear towards that, towards thinking that somebody has a different motive, even between you and I. Like, we've had like moments before where you're like, I'm like, that's not what I was doing. I was genuinely just trying to pick up your phone. Like, you think, okay, a good example.
I was trying to pick up your phone and go through your stuff.
And like hand it to you or whatever. No, but you've done that to me before, actually, when truthfully, you'll have your phone. I'm not saying I've never had interest in what's on your phone. I'm not denying that.
Right.
What I am saying, though, is that there's been plenty of times that like I'm laying on your chest and you've like a buzz on your phone, so I naturally look because it just buzzed.
It's like a reaction, yeah.
Yeah, and he'll be like, "Oh, you always look at my phone." I'm like, "It just buzzed in my face." Like, you think that like everyone's trying to do that, and that's not always the case.
There have been times, I'm not going to get specific, in your past with coworkers that I have said there's an alternative motive there. You better watch out. That's a little sneaky.
Yeah.
That's a little, and
you were right.
And I've been right multiple times about it.
I'm not saying that you're not. That you're not batting zero.
Right.
No one's saying that.
I'm only wrong about you going through my phone.
No, but like, I'm saying that you always gear towards that. It's like, hey, that's not always what's going on.
Yeah.
And I'm worse where I always think it's not happening.
Yeah.
And sometimes you've had to warn me about people in my life, and I'm like, oh, stop, and then I end up screwed over. So I need to be more suspicious, but you need to be less suspicious.
Okay, so
you
should be our. See,
we gotta meet here.
We don't need therapy. We just
punched my
figured it
mic.
out. Like we just figured it out. Like more or less.
Are
Middle.
you gonna be less accusatory?
Is that a word?
Accusatory, yeah.
That's a great word. All right.
You didn't answer my question.
Yeah, I'll be less accusatory. Sure.
you.
All right. Finally, our famously in love segment,
Ooh la la.
which we're very excited about the new name.
Yeah.
Ben Affleck, Jennifer Lopez. Obviously, they're a thing again, right? They're
married.
They're back. They're back better than ever. And before we talk about this, I do have to say that my lovely wife is not a J-Lo fan at all.
I'm not. And listen, I'm not a hater. So I will say I'm
With
not.
With her, you are.
No.
Okay.
I'm not a hater because even if I'm not a huge fan of somebody, I can say like, I thought she did great in Selena.
Okay.
She has some songs I'd listen to. She can dance really good. Like, so I'm not like, there's nothing there. I'm not one of those people.
Okay.
So I'm not that, like, when people are like, well, what about Selena? I think she did great in Selena. Like,
did, yeah.
So Listen, it's not that. There's been multiple times that I feel like she's not a girl's girl.
Okay.
There's been personal experiences, which I'm not going to dive into. And then there's been interviews that come out. There was that interview, which I think doesn't get a lot of attention because it was a print interview. Like, when you used to like read them in like
what's
magazines.
that?
Right? So I don't think it's a lot of attention. But she did slam almost every other woman because she was like, no one's dancing and singing and acting. And she was like, Salma Hayek not doing it. Winona Ryder not doing it. Like, she just went through and trashed all these
I need to go back and find it because I can't imagine that she name checked people. I think, are you sure you're not exaggerating a little bit?
I read it. I read the interview because I was like, damn. Like, I remember reading it. And there's just been little moments like that bother me. Mm-hmm. And I think women have it tough enough, and I think that we should be like wildly helpful to each other, and that's what bothers me.
Okay, before we go into the story, I have to give counterpoint here. I have been lucky enough to interview Jennifer Lopez 3 different times in my past, and all 3 times she was absolutely amazing and couldn't have been nicer. So you have had a bad experience with some things. I have had really, really, really good experiences with her. So just, make up your own mind about
And
J-Lo.
you know what? It could have been a youth thing. Maybe she was in a cocky moment. It's not who she is. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Somebody could have twisted her word. I'm not saying those things don't happen. I like to give people benefits of the doubt, as we learned. I'm less suspicious than I should be. But,
except when it comes to J-Lo. You're very suspicious when it comes to J-Lo.
No, but I don't always get the best vibe.
Okay.
And there was one interview that bothered me too.
Oh, we're gonna dig in, huh?
No, I'm paraphrasing this one, so this is not a direct quote, and I realized that. I remember reading it, being like, eh. But she was like talking about posting like hot photos on social media, and she's like, I do that, so like I'm doing this to motivate women who have had children and are in their 40s, and that bothered me because I'm like, don't do that. Mm-hmm. When we post hot photos online, it's because we want to feel good. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing wrong with that. Post some fine ass photos, feel good about yourself, own that. Don't act like you're doing women in their 40s who have had children favor. It's not true. I don't like when people try to take something and be like, let me make it a charity effort. Don't do that. It's not accurate.
If I could point out one thing, you are being a bit negative about her intention. She's telling you what her intention is. You don't believe it.
Well, but I also think it's an unhealthy thing to do because to say this is what you can look like, she's got certain benefits in life where she can have certain help and trainers and nutritionists. That's not realistic for the average person. And it's fine. I'm not condemning her for having those things. Mm-hmm. How freaking awesome.
I mean, she looks great. She's in her 50s now. She looks great.
Yeah, she looks great. Yeah. I wish I could have all those. I wish I could have a nutritionist and a cook right now and a trainer. How amazing. So I'm not even condemning her for having those things. Mm-hmm. But to say, oh, what motivation. To not be able to acknowledge that you're living a great life and you get to have things that most people don't, and then to put that back on women again isn't really a girl thing. We should be like, women are beautiful, leave them alone if they've had kids and they're working and they're doing that. Like, we should be cutting women slack, not saying you could look like that. Like, that's not helpful to women.
So again, that's
my point.
Kenzie, not a fan of J-Lo. Roman, big fan of J-Lo. Okay, that's where we stand on this situation. Mm-hmm. All right, so back to our story here for Famously in Love. Ben Affleck and J-Lo, obviously they're back together again. They're married, but they had very different philosophies when it came to social media going into this relationship. Here's a direct quote from Ben Affleck. Getting back together, I said, listen, one of the things I don't want is a relationship on social media. And then I sort of realized it's not a fair thing to ask. It's sort of like you're going to marry a boat captain and you go, well, I don't like the water. We're just two people with kind of different approaches trying to learn to compromise. That's what they say. So, how do you feel? We're a very public couple. You know? Obviously we're nowhere near J-Lo and Ben Affleck, but we are very public with our posts.
I think we're just as public. It's just that less people care.
Right, we're probably more public than they are. Yeah.
Yeah, like we put more out there just that no one's interested.
Yeah.
I commend him. I think that that's a big of him to do because I always say that, there's someone for everyone and you can ask whatever you want in a relationship as long as the other person, you're not trying to change the person and they're okay with it. And I think it was important for him, instead of trying to force her, like, he recognized who she was, what she likes to do, what her brand is.
Her brand is very public, pictures, images, right.
And to not make her feel bad about that. Because also, which wouldn't have been fair to her, because again, I'm not a biased person, is that it wouldn't have been fair to tell her, I don't want it public. Because guess what? Guess who's going to face the backlash? Her. Oh, you post yourself all the time, but never your husband. She's going to get crap for that. Like, as a woman, we get crap for everything. So it would have made her not look great, but really she was just honoring what her husband wanted.
Yeah, right.
And I think that was great of him to realize, okay, let's meet in the middle. Let's compromise. Because I think the flack would have fallen on her, and that would have been crappy because she would have been trying to do what he wanted, you know?
You know, it definitely lends itself to a great conversation about, you know, what is too much, what is too less. Even when it comes to, like, you know, kids, right? Like, my son Tristan was born, I was heavy at B96. Like, I was in the middle of my B96 career on radio. And there was some discussions about, are you going to put your child's photo on Instagram or on social media, I should say? And because a lot of celebrities don't do that. They'll you know, like they'll beep out their faces or like
put like an emoji over their face.
Yeah.
There's different things people do now. Yeah.
And not that I was a celebrity, but I'm saying like being a public person here in Chicago, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna post him because like I didn't think anything was wrong with posting my son. Now moving forward, me and, you know, Kenzie have a son, Marino, and we obviously posted him everywhere. You know, he was part of this podcast. He was the cover photo of the podcast, episode 3, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, never once did we ever talk about, like, not posting him or blurring out his face or anything. And our relationship, obviously, is very, very public. We post on social media everything. There's different levels, you know? I feel like, you know, Justin Timberlake and Jessica Biel, you know, they have their level they post at. You know, I feel like they definitely post each other. And I don't think I've ever seen their kid, though. Have you?
Oh, really? Yeah, I don't
think
know.
So. The more I think about it, I don't think I've ever seen. I
get it at that level though.
Yeah.
Because it's a different.
1,000%. Yeah.
I guess for me, because I got asked the same thing at Q101 when somebody like texted in, they go, "Are you going to actually post a picture of the baby? Like, are we going to be able to see? Or like as the listeners, you're not going to do that?" And I was like, "Oh," and I think that like I don't think of myself on a level of which it's like, oh my gosh, it's going to create a problem sometimes. Yeah. Right? Like I'm not Justin Timberlake. It doesn't go like, I don't need a reality check. Really aware of the reality. Like I'm not at that level. So
you're a big deal here in Chicago. Like don't brush it off.
Know.
I mean, you know,
I
you're doing mornings on Q101.
Yeah, but I guess I never thought like, I don't know that's that big of a deal. But I do see a lot of people do it. And I see people do it who don't have public jobs, right? Like so and. Maybe it's like I should have looked into more because I never considered it because I didn't think it was a big deal.
There are things that we hid from the public. Like we didn't say where we were giving birth, where the hospital was.
I did not do that.
Yeah, we didn't want anybody to know like where the hospital was. We've opened up more about where we live, what suburb it is. But for a while, we didn't even say what suburb we lived in because, you know, just listen, there are people. I'm not really worried about me. Like I feel like I'm at a level where like, again, anybody who likes me isn't going to quote unquote stalk me, right? I do feel like guys, unfortunately, we're the stalkers. So like anybody who's obsessed with her, they might try to come find her. So we kind of hit it in that respect.
I was also, and you don't do it anymore because we have a newborn, but you played baseball and you played baseball late at night. And I was really particular about you not like doing a video like on my way to baseball because I don't want someone to know that you're not home in the middle of the night and like I'm home with the kids. I don't like that. Now you're not doing that anymore. You're not at baseball.
I was forced to quit this season.
Okay, we've extended. I'm sorry, I can't handle all the children alone. In the
I was taking a year off. It's fine.
Yeah, okay, but I was really particular about things like that, like for safety, like don't post that because we've made jokes about how late you're gone.
Yeah, right.
So I don't want you posting that you're going and like what days that you play, etc. Yeah. So I was particular about that. You know, another piggyback on this though is there's a lot of people who think if you post about your partner a lot on social media, you're not actually happy.
Yes. True.
There's a lot of people who say that.
Yes.
So are you happy?
We post a lot.
I know they must think that we're the most unhappy couple ever.
They say like you're overcompensating if you're posting about how much my wife is amazing or how my husband's the best. That you're overcompensating and really truly you guys aren't. And to be honest, I have known some couples that have been very public and in love, and then they break up or they get divorced or whatever. So like that is real.
Yeah.
If anybody cares, you and I are very, very happy, even though we are posting a lot about each other and we have a brand together and all this. We are very, very happy. This is not overcompensation. We're just trying to get some compensation.
Period.
Which we haven't gotten yet, but we're hoping.
You're using me and you don't mean those words.
I said we, babe.
Yeah, but there's a lot of people think that, and I get that. But I will say the counterpart is that when I've been cheated on many times, in those relationships, a lot of times they wouldn't post me at all.
Right. Yeah.
Because they're cheating.
Yeah.
So people may have been like, wow, they were really in love because we were not. That did not work out in my favor. I always felt more secure with someone at least being willing to post about me. It is a red flag to me if you're not willing to post about me.
We have friends who I will not name that you're like, oh, he hasn't posted about her. Like, what's going on? Like, and I'm like, babe, like that's their thing. Like that's his thing. That's her.
What she needs to do is check where his thing's been because from my experience, like that's like then you can fall back on, no, we're not together because look, I haven't posted about her in 6 months. Doesn't mean that's happening. That's genuinely been my actual life experience. So I don't like that. I feel like if we're posting a decent amount about each other, if you cheated, I may get one of those messages like, hey girl, like, because
is that why you do it?
Yeah.
You just put me out there, like, anybody else hooking up with them?
Pow, pow, pow. So.
And I think you found out as we wrapped the podcast up that one of us needs therapy. And that one is not...
We both need therapy.
Do we?
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you again for checking out the latest episode of the Romance Podcast. In case you guys don't know, we put out new episodes every single Thursday. It's on Apple, Spotify, YouTube as well. There's a video component on YouTube. You can see, what goes on behind the scenes.
The beautiful chemistry.
And our uneven foam in the back that soundproofs. We gotta get
why
that fixed.
is that one shorter?
You brought it from the studio. I don't know.
I just don't understand why it's shorter.
All right. Anyways, thank you so much. We'll see you guys next Thursday for a brand new episode of the Romance Podcast. And don't forget, you cannot spell romance without Roman.
Oh my God.